This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Let's go to Scott Tabor, former Razorback pitcher, College World Series. Scott, I know there was quite a pitching performance yesterday with Hagen Smith and Hunter Holland. Hunter hadn't been out of the pen since junior year of high school. What kind of adjustment is that for a starter? I know you started a number of games. What kind of adjustment is that as a pitcher?
Mental preparation more than anything else. As a starter, you have all night and all week to know exactly when you're going to throw. As a reliever, you show up at the park every day and not knowing if you're going to throw, but hoping that you do. And it's just a preparation for when you're going to get on the mound, mentally mostly.
Yeah. Well, this team right now, I called it a kind of an affirming win yesterday. You're good. You know you're what you're in position to accomplish. You're co-conference champions, but that's the kind of win. Even a team you're seated ahead of yesterday that I think just once again confirms kind of where you're at headed into the postseason. Scott.
LSU comes into this tournament, and I guarantee you, even though we were seated ahead of them, they looked at us and go, "We're better than these guys are." Mm-hmm. They're not, and Arkansas is a relentless team, and our pitching staff is being relentless. And I think that's the key to their success right now is they're flooding the strike zone. And if they're not, when they stop doing it, they got a guy coming in behind them. It's going to be flooding the strike zone with quality pitches. Zach Morris has turned the corner, and he's just become a tool that we really, really needed in our toolbox. With Hunter Holland and Hagen Smith and McIntyre, those guys now, exactly what we're getting. I was hoping that Gage Wood would get in yesterday. He really needs to get on the mound and have a good showing so he can have a little bit more confidence. But they're just relentless. They're being relentless in the field. Peyton Holt, the play, we have a little Wally Pipp situation going on with Peyton. Coming up next year, it'll be hard to get him out of that spot.
I want to ask you about this with Peyton because your son is playing baseball at Crowder. He came through Crowder. Tell us, and that's a program that really has developed a lot of good players. Tell us, give us some insight on Crowder College and what makes that such a great place for development in baseball at that level.
Well, Coach Lawman brings in a lot of quality kids, and he goes out looking for a lot. But he gets a lot of phone calls just because of the reputation and the facility. It's a very, very good facility for that level of baseball, and he coaches them hard, and he requires them to put in the work, and they put in the work, and he brings in enough talent to where if somebody's not doing it, he brings the next guy in, and they can carry really, really big rosters. I think they carry a few too many because not everybody gets enough playing time. Because there's a lot of kids on that team that just didn't get the innings in that they needed to, whether it's in the field or on the mound. But that's the system that he's going. Every year they're getting. This year they didn't make the World Series. They got beat out in the regionals, but they're strong every year. I'm sorry.
Tommy's asking about your son. I know you probably took him to plenty of baseball games growing up. I don't know if you saw Dalton, Bubba Carpenter's kid, catch that fly ball yesterday. Did you ever have an opportunity to have something like that with your son? I know Bubba was pretty happy on the broadcast.
Well, you do go to a lot of ball games, but most of the time they're playing. But any games that we'd go to, he's never called one. I think the only one I've ever called was in '79 when we were at the World Series. We had an off day, and my mother and sister and I were walking into the game in down the right field line. Just stepped out, and there's a foul ball came, and it zeroed in on me, and I didn't really have a choice of catching it. It kind of cradled, hit me right in the gut. But, that's always a big thing. And good for Bubba and his son. That's something they'll always remember.
Yeah. Mentioned the day off. The Hogs earned one yesterday with the win. You've been on the road a while before you went to Nashville to play Vandy. Then you went down to Hoover. I know that a couple days off in advance of this tournament starting, but give us an idea from a player's perspective what a day of rest today and how valuable that is, not just for this tournament, but just moving forward.
Well, they'll get out. It won't be a complete day of rest where you stay in bed all day. That's the worst thing they can do. They'll get out and they'll do something. They'll have a little practice. They'll walk through some batting practice. The pitchers will get the running in and the throwing and tossing. And mentally, it's more of a day off than physically. These kids don't need a day off necessarily where they don't do anything. Pitchers need their rest between starts and what have you, but they still got to get their workouts in. But mentally, I think it'll be good for them because now they're coming back and get to sit back and watch a little baseball, knowing they're coming into the weekend fully loaded, and the coaching staff is trying to get everybody some work in. It'll be interesting to see who they're going to throw next and at what order they're going to bring kids in. And I think things are falling into place pitching-wise. Could not have gone better. You have McIntyre coming in on the back end and throwing his innings, and Smith got his pitches in, and Holland got his pitches in. And it wasn't like we're going in, let's throw and we're getting beat by 10, but let's bring this guy in and get him work. This is all real baseball, and they're not playing to just get innings in. They're playing right now to win. And you always go to play to win. As an athlete, you always want to win. And that's their attitude, and that's just what they do. They grind it out. They're just relentless. And so I think things are really, really falling into place for postseason.
Scott, you brought up Gage Wood. We got about a minute. Is he the first guy that you're pulling out of the pen after Tigers' date's done tomorrow?
I think he would rather have him come in on the back end because that's his role. I think he would rather have him come in on the back end. Kind of just depends on the flow of the game, how it's going. But you will see him the next 2 days. They've got to get him back on the mound. He's got to get his, in his case, he needs his swagger back. He's a totally different pitcher when he's got a little swagger to him. You could see him lose his confidence last week when he gave up that big lead. It kind of looked like I was at that first game down in Texas where he went in and looked like Ned in the first reader. He just looked lost. And he's not. He's been pitching for a long, long time, but it's just a different situation for him. So he needs to get back out and have some success and get that swagger back to where he feels like every time he goes out there, they don't have a chance. And as a pitcher, you've got to have that, especially as a closer. You've got to have that mentality that they have not got a chance. So hopefully they'll get him in a good high leverage situation.
Tabes, good stuff. Wish we had more time. We'll catch up next week, talk about the regional.
All right. You guys have fun in Branson. Go Hogs.
BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right down to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. BLEAV. BetOnline, where the game starts.